Final Fantasy 15 is one of my favorite games of all time. It was controversial on release because a lot of people were super disappointed with it, and I get that. There are massive problems with the game that even I have, but I didn't have like the 10-year build-up to release. I never heard of Final Fantasy until about a week before I pre-ordered Final Fantasy 15 before it released on PC. My friend told me to get it, and especially after looking at the art style, I really liked it. I said, fuck it, why not? And damn, I'm glad I did, because that game means a lot to me at this point, and honestly has shaped kind of how I view a lot of things about life. And I think the game gets a lot of flack for, granted, good reasons, but there's also so much to love. I also got the game at a time where I didn't actually look at reviews, so like there was no outside biases swaying my opinion, or like I didn't watch IGN give it a 7 or an 8 or whatever the hell they gave it. I just kind of went in blind, wanting to experience something new. And it was exciting. I wish I still had that ability to just kind of like go in blind, but I feel like I always need reviews now to like make sure I'm getting a good game. This game changed how I view 4 things specifically in life: friendship, loyalty, responsibility, and sacrifice. It's one of the few games where I actually have a vivid memory of release day. I remember pre-ordering the game on Green Man Gaming because I was like 13 and super broke at the time, which I guess I still am. I'm a cheap fucking costume, but I remember just being so excited. Like, I haven't felt that way about a game, and I don't know how long. Like, the next one is probably GTA 6 or like Final Fantasy 17 whenever that comes out. I remember like my heart genuinely beating at the thought of getting able to play this game that I was so infatuated with. It was something new that I haven't really seen before, especially like JRPGs and stuff like that. And the art style just was beautiful to me. And even it's like the music of like from the trailers and the visuals of everything, just it struck a chord with me. But since I was 13 at the time and I had to go to school the next day, I couldn't stay for the midnight release because I knew I'd just pass out on my keyboard, even though I really wanted to. It would have been fun, but I always get super neurotic and want to do things correctly, so I didn't want to ruin the first impression of the game, and I knew if I was too tired, it might like kind of sway my mind on certain things, so I figured I'm better off just waiting till the next day, go to school, get through it, and then game when I get home. I even remember when I got home after school that day, I rushed into my house, like threw my bag on my bed. I left my computer on with Steam open and Final Fantasy ready to basically just go right from there. And the second I launched the game in Somnus, the main menu, kind of like the soul music in a way of Final Fantasy 15 started playing, I was immediately enthralled, even though the game already had me, even just from my own preconceived notions of what it was going to be. But from that main menu on, I was in. In order to fully understand the story, you do have to watch a movie called Kingsglaive, which I think is cool, and I really like the movie, but a lot of people absolutely hated. Understandable, especially because it takes away, I would say, in-game from the inciting incident of Insomnia falling and King Regis, Noctis's dad, dying, where that's actually gone into in the movie and explains a lot, when in the game they just take like 2 scenes from the movie and throw it in, and you kind of have no idea what's going on. But right after chapter 1, which is basically where that happens and you have to watch the movie, I went on my totally legit and not pirated version of the movie, watched it. Cool. It was kind of weird that the voice cast in the movie was different from in the game. So like Regis is Sean Bean in the movie and not in the game. Lena Headey is Luna Frey in the movie and definitely not in the game. So that was kind of weird and a bit jarring to go like directly back and forth to that. I still loved it. I thought it was a badass movie, and Aaron Paul was in it, so it was cool. Over the course of the next week, I basically did nothing but play Final Fantasy 15. It was the first time that I could remember that I absolutely got lost in a game's world, even though I was conscious of the fact that the world was kind of shit. The side quests were terrible, just fetch quests basically on repeat. The open world was completely empty, had nothing to do in it besides just like look at the pretty views. The traversal of the open world was also pretty weird. I really liked the Regalia, beautiful car, but not being able to actually kind of like turn when you want and stuff like that, it's pretty awkward to get used to. And then also just the combat being super repetitive. But for some reason, like, if it's a make or break, that should be a break. All of that, what I just said. And for some reason, I was loving it. And I just couldn't stop playing. I couldn't fully understand it at the time, but once credits rolled, and especially now, after replaying it again, what a video game. Oh my god. Prompto's the goofy, lovable idiot that shoots a massive revolver and repeats the same 3 lines of dialogue about chocobos.
I want to ride my chocobo all day.
He's a photographer and documents your journey throughout the game by taking pictures of the gang at random points. It's one of the coolest mechanics that I wish more games actually utilized. It made the game's world feel alive, even though the actual world didn't do a great job of that. And picking your favorite pictures after each chapter and at the end of the game felt like looking through old high school pictures. It was sick. Plus, he's dripped down a badass vest. Ignis is brought along by the group as their guide. He's the stern and nerdy smartass who uses daggers and magic to kill anyone in their way, whether they're on or off Coleman-branded camping equipment. He might be a pussy at night.
The roads are perilous at night. Let us wait for morning.
But damn, is he a cool motherfucker. On top of looking badass, the episode of Ignis DLC is by far the best of all the extra content. It takes place in Altissia after Chapter 9 and actually explains how he's fucking blinded. Because just like with the invasion of Insomnia, they failed to give you any information on that. Finally, there's Gladio, who's Noctis' bodyguard and protector. He's the jacked and giant teddy bear that uses a comically massive sword like it's nothing. He's almost like the father figure of the group in a way, constantly being protective over Noctis and saving him when he needs him. He's always the voice of reason when the group or Noctis led astray, and essentially is the glue of the group. His voice is also majestic as hell.
There's nothing else like them. They're easy to make whenever you've got a craving, and they're delicious to boot. I'll never forget my first time.
Then there's Noctis, prince and son to King Regis and heir to the line of Lucis. He's just a whiny kid who's forced to set off on a journey he never wanted to undertake to begin with. His only upside was reuniting with his childhood friend and love again, Lunafreya, as the journey is a trip to their wedding. The wedding was proposed under the peace treaty by Niflheim to unite the nations. Using his power, he can teleport short distances after throwing his blade and is fast on the attack. He takes the boys for granted at almost every chance he can, even though he appreciates them more than anything. He just has a hard time expressing it. Even after he learns of his father's passing and his kingdom being stolen, he wants to throw it all away like a spoiled child. But even through that, the boys are there to keep him on track to fulfill his destiny as the chosen king. These 4 characters are the soul of this game. It's a running gag in the community that Ignis is the mom, Gladio the dad, Prompto the brother, and Noctis is the son. The 3 stick by Noctis' side even when he doesn't deserve it. They never leave him, and in return, he never leaves them. Their undying friendship and loyalty toward him ingrained deep in Noctis' veins along their journey as he grows into his own. Whether it be conversations...
Is it cool that we rock Grounds Guard outfits?
Be worse not to. They made them especially for us.
Even got a sweet insignia on them.
In the Crown's Guard, your attire identifies you, so wear it with pride.
or interactions in cutscenes.
I'm not royalty, and I'm not strong. I'm nothing, really. Unlike Gladio, I'm not good with people. The way he connects with them, he's operating on a different level. Unlike Ignis, I'm not smart, and I can't cook to save myself. But when we hang out, it's so much fun. I forget what I'm not.
Or even mannerisms in combat, as it's designed around the boys helping Noct kick ass. Over the course of my first 50-hour playthrough, the friendship that ingrains itself in Noctis also leaked out of the screen and into me. I felt like I was one of the boys on a road trip across a fantasy world on a batshit quest for love and vengeance. Their friendship and loyalty spread beyond their pixels and wiggled its way into my life. In the epilogue, when Noctis gives a final speech to the boys, he sums it up in a few words that I couldn't have written better if I tried.
You guys are the best.
As Insomnia fell, both King Regis and Lunafreya knew their wedding would never take place. They both knew that Luna was a necessary sacrifice alongside Noctis' journey to lead him down the necessary path to save the world. Noctis was thrust into a journey he never expected or wanted, but his saving grace was being with Luna again after so many years apart since her capture by the Empire. In order to defeat Arden and the Star Scourge, he needs every last ounce of power he can get. He needs the blessing and power of the 6 astrals. They're essentially gods. The first starts with Titan, where Luna awakens him before the boys can get there and prepares for a fight to determine if Noctis is truly the chosen king. Rama, it's spelt Rama, but it's pronounced Rama, and he gives his power willingly. Then, the next on the list is Leviathan. Luna is aware of its location in Altissia, and that's why she leads Noctis there, so she as Oracle can awaken it for a fight. She does this fully aware that awakening the Leviathan is her final part to play in Noctis' story, and in doing so will leave Noct completely broken after her inevitable demise. It's probably the lowest the group feels morale-wise. After Leviathan, Shiva is already fighting alongside Noct, then Ifrit, who Noct has to defeat and gain command over. And lastly, Bahamut, who already fights for you, similarly to Shiva. With the 6, he stands a fighting chance against Arden and the Star Scourge to defeat all of darkness and save Eos. There are multiple instances where Gladio sets the record straight and keeps Noct and the group on task.
The hell is wrong with you?
What?
We're not stopping in Tenebrae. You need to grow up and get over it.
I am over it. I'm here, aren't I?
Maybe when you're not too busy moping, you can look around and give a shit about someone worse off than you.
Let go of me.
How's that ring fit you? You rather carry it around than wear it? She gave her life so you could do your duty, not so you could sit around feeling sorry for yourself.
You don't think I know that?
You don't! Ignis took one for you too. And for what?
Enough, Gladio.
You think you're a king, but you're a coward.
Shut up! Don't do this! I get it, all right? I get it!
Then get a grip. Pull your head out of your ass already.
Noct!
Leave him.
Although brash and can be a bit of a dick, he understands from the get-go the importance, weight, and responsibility that Noct carries even for Noctis himself. Throughout its main story, King Regis' final words to Noct stick out in his mind with each decision and obstacle that they face. His father's last words to Noct stay stuck in his brain for the entirety of his journey because he never understood them.
Walk tall, my son.
Gladio knew that once those 2 simple words clicked in Noct's brain, he would be ready. Noct struggles with the phrase as he continuously puts his own wants and needs above others, even when he doesn't mean to. It's that simple fact that makes him so relatable and lovable to me. He's selfish, self-centered, and complicated. He's flawed to the bone. It's what makes him human. Put yourself in his shoes for a moment. You're 20 years old, born into royalty. You're sent off on a journey with 2 strangers and a friend to get married because your father told you so due to a peace treaty between 2 massive nations. On that journey, you find out your father and everything you ever knew was gone, and the kingdom you were set to inherit was taken from you. How well would you come to terms with the idea that you and 3 other people would have to now take down an insane guy and an empire to allow you to assume your position as the rightful king and eliminate all evil? That's absolutely fucking batshit. I'm 19 and I can confidently say I'd be a disaster as much as I'd like to say I'd be a beast in that situation. I can barely get through a regular day in my cushy house without having a breakdown about something stupid. So when people complain about Noctis whining constantly, I'd like to just say, what if you were him? Just as he doesn't understand the 2 words walk tall, most people don't seem to understand his position. And if you can't empathize and try to understand someone else's position, of course you'll never connect with them. 3 key moments during Final Fantasy XV's main story led to Noctis' awakening. The first being the death of his father and the loss of his kingdom. Kind of a massive thing to happen. For the majority of the game, he can't comprehend why his father sacrificed himself when that meant Insomnia being overtaken and the world devolving into chaos for a time. He believed his father sacrificed himself for him and forsaking his kingdom. When Noctis speaks to Kor in the Tomb of the Wise, he vents his frustrations about his father's decision. Kor fights back though, attempting to make him see the truth.
How long will you remain the protected? The king entrusted the role of protector to you.
The more Noctis listens, the more angry he becomes. Not at Kor, but at his father for not revealing this information to him before his journey started instead of 2 cryptic words that he still couldn't understand the meaning of.
Then why didn't he tell me that? Why did he stand there smiling as I left? Why? Why did he lie to me?
He can't comprehend why his father would not say a word, knowing full well that he would never see him again, and the road ahead would be absolutely brutal. This being the first time he hears these words out loud, they remain in his mind for the remainder of the story as he seeks to understand his father and what being the protector truly means. Ever since I experienced this scene for the first time, it just struck such a chord with me, and I think I figured out the reason why. Even with its awkward camera angles and terrible sound design, I still felt it. And I think it's especially due to Ray Chase's insane performance as Noctis, who I think absolutely knocked out of the park. But then also I think the writing does a good job, and I think it gets knocked, that's kind of, no pun intended, too often. I think the writing raises questions that the player would have at the same time as Noctis, and he actually asks them and poses them in-game, which I think is super interesting and connects you to the character even more. Oh, there's a fucking bee trying to eat me. It's Noctis' story, and we see it through his eyes, but we also see it as a player from an external observer. So I think it offers two super interesting point of views to kind of get into the mind of Noctis and also of the world of Eos or Eos. After playing through the, albeit simple mechanically, boss fight against Leviathan, it was absolutely gut-wrenching to hear Ignis almost give up, where he considers the possibility of maybe Noctis was right in all his whining and complaining. Maybe we should just turn back, and maybe this wasn't actually worth it. That all this loss is not worth the price. And especially after just losing Luna, and on top of that, watching Altissia, a beautiful Venetian city, get absolutely laid to waste. It's pretty brutal hearing that from one of the core characters, that maybe we should just quit while we're ahead somewhat. If they did quit, it would guarantee the pointlessness of it all, if that makes sense. Where it's only pointless if they made it pointless. And Noctis was trying to quit for a long time until he found the goal of saving Luna, which then was taken from him. And then once Ignis raises the question after he's blinded of maybe we should stop, I think this is the moment where you as the player alongside Noctis kind of finally feel the weight of the responsibility of the world on your shoulders, where you were the reason that fight was happening, and a lot of people died, including Luna, someone you love, and Ignis got injured. And I think this moment of Ignis questioning whether it's worth it, it brings the group to a new low, but also I think brings Noctis to a new high, where he finally feels almost like the initial weight of his crown, sinking onto his head, where he realizes, shit, if we stop, then all these people died for nothing. And he can't have that. I never knew how much this moment meant to me until I graduated from high school in 2022. Of course, the circumstances are significantly different. One is the fate of the world, and the other is just graduating. But once I did walk with the gown and hat and the whole getup, it was kind of interesting to feel a responsibility that I didn't realize I had kind of fall on my shoulders, where we all know it's coming, but we never expect it to come so fast. And I think that was a big wake-up call moment for me. I vividly remembered hearing that I would graduate in 2022 when I was in elementary school, and laughing. I'd be like, bro, that shit is never fucking happening. That's never gonna come. And then now it's 2024, and I'm 2 years out of that. So I don't know how that happened, but it's pretty fucking terrifying. And I think it's a small semblance of Noctis' situation, but it was just a way that, for me personally, I think added emotional resonance to the character and also to this specific moment in game that I felt like I can relate to him. The third moment is when the group finally arrives at the crystal. Imagine those weird energy charging in the moonlight like a werewolf-type crystals and size it up. It has unmatched magical power and uses light to burn and destroy any Star Scourge or living creature that isn't the Chosen King, making it the ultimate weapon to beat Arden. As Noctis touches the crystal, it begins to pull him in, absorbing him whole into the astral plane as Arden approaches from behind and does some massive exposition dumping. It might be the worst audio mixing I've ever heard in any form of media, being barely able to hear the dialogue, but it still goes hard as fuck.
Arise as its champion. Only once the Christ and King are no more. I know redemption. Come back soon. I shall keep your friends company till you are.
In the astral plane, he has a conversation with the god Bahamut, who reveals his destiny to banish the Star Scourge from Eos, but only with the sacrifice of his own life. Noctis has to accept the responsibility of possibly sacrificing his friends out in the real world while his power charges in the astral plane. The fate of the world is at risk, and finally, the gravity of that statement sinks in. He falls asleep, awaiting his power to be ready, before waking 10 years in the future, looking more badass than ever with long hair and a beard. This is when the weight of his crown sinks to its fullest, as he understands what has to be done. Years have passed, and many have died in the pursuit to get Noctis to this exact moment. It's finally time. He's ready to ascend the throne. After the Time Jump's my favorite time period in Final Fantasy XV. Noctis worn down, rugged, just beaten up. He's got long hair, a beard, wearing his dad's clothes, and the weight of his crown has finally sunk to its fullest. He knows he has to ascend the throne, at any cost. There's no more whining or complaining. He knows what he has to do. The entire time he fights towards the throne after the time jump, he knows full well that he's going to die, one way or the other. Whether he loses in a fight and dies, or he wins, he has to die. There's basically no outcome where he lives. He does this because he knows it's his responsibility, as protector and the chosen king, to do what has to be done. And his sacrifice for the good of the world is a price he's now willing to pay. To me, that is so fucking badass. the ability and the strive to know that your life is over, but your mission is more important than that. That is so cool. Like, Epilogue Noctis is who I strive to be as a man, having a mission that nothing can get in my way from stopping me from accomplishing it. To try and relate, I think most of us have stuff in our lives that we know we should, but we still have trouble doing it, myself included. If we had the ability to do what he did, to just kind of put our heads down and just brute force our way through, a lot of stuff can happen, and a lot of good can come from that. I think where it differs from Noctis' situation is that his choice is saving the world, while our personal choices about what we have to do on our day-to-day changes our personal world, or your world. Finally, as he arrives at the steps that he left his father at over a decade ago, he looks down on the three boys, Gladio, Ignis, and Prompto, and gives them a farewell speech. He keeps it simple and repeats the same words that his father left him with. The two eloquent words that even he couldn't understand until just recently. It may have taken him a long time, and even longer than it should have, but still, he finally learned what his father meant with those two words. As he stood with his shoulders back and his head high, he finally knew what it meant to walk tall.
Prompto. Gladio. Ignis. I leave it to you. Walk tall, my friends.
Godspeed. And take care. Majesty.
And it just beeped at me. I'm scared. Final Fantasy XV means a lot to me. And as cringe as it sounds, I feel lucky to have gone on the journey with Noctis and the boys. This goofy, disappointing arrangement of pixels, designed by 200 to 300 individual people, made me feel something. And that's absolutely beautiful. And I can't thank them enough. Genuinely. This game, one, made me realize how important brotherhood was and friendship. But it also just made me see beauty. And just kind of learn to experience life and live how you're supposed to. And that even with responsibility, life is meaningful. I've always had a hard time processing emotions and understanding them. But I think after playing Final Fantasy 15 for the first time when I was 13, and again last year, that I've actually gotten better at that due to this game. I consider Final Fantasy 15 a major contributing factor to at least the beginning of my growth of emotional intelligence. The game breaks my heart, but also makes me so excited to live. And not many things can do that. And I think that's just the beauty of art. Like, I just went by on a bicycle with 2 helmets on. That was something. If you're struggling, like past me, current me, or even future me with anything in terms of life, whether it be emotional distress, hard times, going away to college. I'm moving to Austin in a couple months, and I'm terrified. I won't lie. It's my first time living alone, and I'm scared. 2 words help me get through it. And those 2 words are the same 2 words that King Regis said to his son the last time they talked to each other. And those are the same words that Noctis learned what they truly meant in the end of his days. It may just be a stupid little video game, but damn, no matter who you are or what situation you're in, those simple 2 words will help you through, I guarantee it, because they've helped me through it. You just have to learn to walk tall. Wow, this is terrifying. Holy shit. Ooh.